Hi, so my name's Nicholas, and for this scenario, I decided to choose air quality in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Uh, so, hopping right into it, the first problem that was presented to me was acid deposition, which is just acid rain basically. I decided to focus on acid deposition instead of the ground level ozone because in this scenario it said that acid deposition directly affects plants and animals, whereas ozone um, just mainly affects kind of crops. Ozone affects the crops, whereas acid rain deposition directly affects plant life, which affects animal life. So it just seemed like acid deposition was the greater evil of the two, and that's what needed to be tackled because that's what was directly damaging the park. On the other hand, though, for my second decision, I decided to tackle air pollutants, and that's what I chose, is that we need to reduce air pollutants. And I chose this one very similar to the first one's logic because that attacks kind of the actual problem of it instead of dealing with the effect. So, the other option was kind of the remedies. And, I decided that, well, we should probably attack the actual problem itself and not, right, attack the cause and not the effect. And while it's very true that the remedies can absolutely help, and that we should probably still, you know, remedies can help, but at the end of the day, attacking the problem is where we'll probably get the most success from. And when I was looking kind of in the book to kind of connect topics to what I was, looking at and reading, I found that chapter 8 is literally called air pollution. I was like, oh, this is perfect. And so I read the chapter, and it very much connects to what I'm talking about, as it talks about how certain air pollutants, and they were talking about nitrogen oxide, affect people's health. And it's a little bit intuitive what I'm saying, but right, poor air quality affects the environment and affects people. Then they kind of talk about a little about emissions and fossil fuels and how that affects a person's health long term. And so overall, I really do think that this reinforces my second decision because it's all about how air pollutants affect human health. And even back to just chapter 1, where that talks about the environment and its complexities, it all kind of affects humans. So it kind of just supports my first decision and second decision. And, even though I do think that it's not necessarily black and white and that there are trade-offs, I overall think that my decisions were the right ones because it focuses on prevention, right? Firstly, acid deposition harms plants, animals, waters, and long term the park. So that's what we need to focus on. And second, reducing the pollutants causes it is better. Reducing the air pollutants is better because it affects the long term health of the park. And even though there are some trades off, right, protecting air quality is what's important long term and important for the visitors. Thank you for listening to my speech. I wish you the best of luck in this course.